Welcome to another episode of the Impossible Life Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick Surface, and I'm looking across at a man who lists his core competencies as leadership, vision, and suffering well. That's right, friends, the former Navy SEAL, Garrett Unkelbach, a man who can go to the dark places and keep a smile on his face.
Where's the joke?
Yeah, it's actually true. This is, suffering well is one of your skills. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I like to bring some truth in the intro. And
Never claimed to be that talented, but I can take a punch.
Man, and this is real because I was like, you and I are competing along with a friend Norm right now in the how lean can we get challenge, and we compete in a lot of things. I've said we've competed at putting office chairs together.
It's our own personal version of Biggest Loser, except except everybody wins.
Everybody's going to be a winner on this one because we're all getting down there, which is great. But the thing is, I was like, I would compete with you on most things, but I was thinking last night, I was like, I think if it was just like, how much suffering can you take before you tap? I do not have any real degree of confidence about that, which is, not a great thing for me. Anyways, all right. So today's episode is basic training for men. These are 5 things you need to be doing your entire life as a man of God. And I sent this to G because I was like, man, I don't want to we talk a lot about mindset. We talk a lot about the different things that you need to the ways that you need to think, because ultimately the way you think determines the way you live. And that is that is so much central. That's scriptural. That's, you can look at it from your own experience. It holds weight. But sometimes we just need to be told, hey, just do this. Like you experienced this in the military where they're just like, here you go. Like no one's going to explain this to you. We're just going to beat this into you.
Yeah, but when they taught us basic firearms instruction at the beginning of my SEAL journey, one of the things they said in the beginning was about basic firearms instruction was one of the things they said in the beginning was just do what we're telling you to do. And the point was, like, later on when you actually learn firearms a little bit better, you can, insert some of your own ways of doing things, some of your own ways of thinking. But at the very beginning is just, hey, just do this, right? You don't know anything yet, and you have to learn a basic discipline. It's kind of like martial arts. When you first get into martial arts, like when you master like your first martial art, you need a master and you need to submit to him and you need to do everything he tells you to do, right? And your master may just, have mastered one discipline of martial arts. And after you've mastered one, then you can start to get into other and you can pull things from other ones. But if you like go to your sensei or whoever your master of a martial art is, and you're telling him like, well, I know you're the best at this, but I want to be, this UFC fighter on TV, and he does all of these 7 different disciplines, and you're going to be very lost at that point. And so when you are learning and growing and developing in something, you do need, what are the basics? And so the military pushed hard on us about mastery of basics, and regardless of just submitting to a specific plan, there is principle in mastery of basics. Jim Rohn says success is neither magical nor mysterious, but the basic consequence of consistently applying the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And for us, one of those mastery of basics was like in that firearm instruction, they would put us on the 3-yard line with pistol, teach us that they taught the basics of marksmanship, put us on the 3-yard line with our pistol, and had us shoot paper until we can shoot dozens of rounds through that paper. And it looks like we've only shot 1 round, right? Like all the bullets just go through the same hole, which that sounds easy. It's actually like terribly frustrating to be able to do that. If you can just get all the bullets to touch at 3 yards, which is 9 feet, you think with a pistol, because a lot of people, they get up there and they're like, oh, I want to shoot from 20 yards to see if I can hit the guy, right? If you can get all of your rounds to go through the same hole at 3 yards, then you can do consistent headshots at 25 yards with a pistol. Right? So it is about like, what are the basic fundamentals that I need to practice, develop, which when I get to the real world, when I'm at 25 yards, when complexity and difficulty expands, now I'm actually going to be useful.
Yeah. Now that sounds like a foolish thought process, I think, if you haven't really grasped it. But what I'll say is this. So like, if you're not looking to be a martial artist or you're not looking to be a Navy SEAL, you might go, okay, that was good for you. but everybody has an area that they want to grow in. You may want to grow in your wisdom. You may want to have a better marriage. You want to maybe better, whatever, physically. Insert whatever your next level is. If you're not doing the basics, you will not hit the next level. And I see this over and over and over again. What you see is you'll see a man that he'll hit a wall. And when I say hit a wall, it means that he finally realizes how much whatever he's been doing has cost him. Like it'll be a massive breakdown in his marriage. He gets fired from his job, or insert whatever painful experience. And you'll start asking him, like, what happened? And it always comes back to they stopped doing something that was basic. It was some of the basics that we're going to give you today. And you sit there and you go, how could you, that's so easy. Like, how did you stop? And it's never like, well, I just decided in a day. It's always like, I just kind of got drifted off, or, I went through a busy time, and then you never really got back to your basics. And it's like, and then eventually it blows up and you realize, man, if you would have just kept doing some of the core things over and over and over again, like that Jim Rohn quote, guess what? You would continue to grow. And then you would be able to labor to build on some of the things we talk about. If you want to understand principles and you want to be a person who's of great perspective and can inspire others, if you can't do some of the basic self-leadership stuff that you need to do on a day-to-day basis, you will never be in a position where you can inspire other people. Because what you don't realize when you're in that state is that people are going to follow somebody they respect. And they're going to respect someone who has consistency. And if you don't have those things, guess what? You won't have respect from anybody, because people are going to look at your life and go like, man, it doesn't work. So understand, whatever you're doing, you need these basics, and you do them forever. This is not like once you get done with these, you check the box and you build on to advanced level 2. You always keep doing these.
It's like being a pro, you want to be a pro basketball player, and you have some great jump shot, but the other team full court presses you and 2 back and forth and you're out of breath. It's like, dude, you're missing basic cardio.
Right.
Like you can't be a pro athlete.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, nobody likes to turn up and do like, wind sprints, but guess what? You don't have that. Like you got no business dribbling.
Michael Jordan did, but we don't have to get into that right now.
But, well, that's what they said. No, it's a good point. You talk about the greatest basketball player of all time, and you know what they said? He never lost. I was watching The Last Dance recently. He never lost a wind sprint. It wasn't that he, like when they say lost, I mean, he finished first every time. Get some young rookie in that wants to compete with Mike, he's going to beat them. What he was playing when he was 34, he's going to beat them. He never finished any place other than first. Like that's, and like we all sit there and go, wow. I hope that like, what did he figure out that maybe some of us overlook? So anyways, let's get into this, G, because we've put this for men, but I will say these are 5 things that whether you're a man or a woman, these are absolute musts.
We discuss a lot of thinking on this podcast, but today we're going to talk like these are the very specific. You don't have to. We're going to give you the thinking behind it, but we're going to give you the very specific. Hey, if you're a man, you should be doing these things, and if you're not doing these things, you're missing it.
Yeah, and I really hope you look at these. Don't have a. I want to encourage everybody as we go through this list. Don't sit there and look for your excuses or your reasons why you can't. Just really hear this and examine yourself, and we'll give the practical. So let's just get into it. So very first, and this is not a surprise, G, you've got to read your Bible and pray daily. If this is not daily. Something that you are doing every single day, there's no excuse. You're absolutely missing it because it's God in his rightful place. If you think you're going to draw your source or you're going to understand who you are or be able to put life in the right order by having anything other than God first, meaning you spend time seeking him daily, truthfully seeking him, then there's only so much we can do for you. I know you've said like there'll be people who come to you and want to talk about purpose. And if they don't have a relationship with God, you're like, I can't help you. And I totally get that thought process.
I can show you the beginning of the journey, and I've had some of these conversations recently with people like, hey, this is what the real journey for purpose looks like in your life. And by the way, what it's going to require is belief and faith. You can't pursue your purpose without it. And here's where faith comes from. So it is very much I can only show you the door moment when I have that discussion with people who don't have a relationship with God. But reading your Bible and praying on a daily basis, if you're not doing that, really, here's all it takes, right? Here's all it takes. You just need to make a commitment that 10 minutes a day, right? It should be more than 10, but just start there and say 10 minutes a day. When I get up in the morning or before I leave the house, put some very clear metric around it, right? Before I go to the gym, right? if you're a gym everyday person, whatever it is, put some metric around it. Say, I'm going to read my Bible for 10 minutes. Just at a very simple metric, read your proverb every day. That's something that I've done since I was 14 years old. Is I heard people talk about that. I heard my dad, heard Pastor Keith talk about that. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do that. And just that one thing will bless your life greatly.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do that, you'll develop you're like, man, this is actually working really well for me. I want more. And that's exactly what should happen to you. But you'll never get to that place until you make the commitment as a man. I'm going to do this every day.
Yeah. I mean, it really is that simple. All right. Number 2. And some of these things you'll notice we've talked about them. Hint, we've talked about all of them. We've just never put them as simple as we're
putting them all in a real short stack. You got to do these things. Number 2, intentional brotherhood. All right. We have this in Mighty Men. We also have this, Nick and I both have this in many other places. We've got a lot of other groups, groups that he leads, groups that I lead, other groups that we both lead together. And here's the greatness of intentional brotherhood. You know, when guys come to Mighty Men, I tell them this. I said, I believe that discipleship happens through brotherhood. Because when I went through the SEAL teams, there's plenty of things there that were ungodly. But there was a few things there that I saw that were. And I said, man, the church is missing this. And what I saw was a group of men, regardless of creed, color, financial level, all of these things, regardless of any of that, they were there for one common mission. And it grew them closer together. And there was a great amount of iron sharpens iron in the military outside of a spiritual context. And I said, man, this is what it's actually supposed to feel like. And iron sharpens iron when there is a commitment to, like, there's a common mission. When, like we talk about in this podcast, if you've been around for a while or you've listened to all of our episodes, on alignment. And alignment is where there's a governing authority. There's something that you're drawn towards together. Just like a man and a woman, their life isn't just about them. Their life is about following God. Their life is about their family, right? That alignment creates tension. And what I knew in my own life, even coming home from the Navy, I said, hey, I need to be around other men. Like, I'm not just going to try to do this follow God thing by myself. Because here's what I can tell you is absolutely true. I would not be the man that I am without some of the men around me. Many of the men around me, I've had a massive impact on them and developed. I'm not taking full credit for Nick or for anybody else in my life, but I've had a big impact on them, and they're very different because of me. But I can say the exact same thing. Even if I was the one, and this doesn't even have to be the case, but even if I was the one developing them, they turned around and developed me back. If nothing else, that they took on the standards that I have and gave me back accountability in the standards that were my own. If at the lowest level, if you'll be in a group, you'll get that. But there's so many other great benefits that come from it. We're supposed to follow God with a group of men, with a group of other families. We're not meant to do it by ourselves. So if you don't have this in your life, if you're just like trying to do your thing, you don't have any deep male relationships, you're not going to grow to what you're capable of growing to.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, but I want to give you like the practical hows, because I've been in those shoes where I'm like, when I was out in San Diego, I'm like, I feel like I'm on my own. So here's what it looks like, and we've said this before, but I want to give it real clear. You need to find one other man. Just find another man, or if you're a woman, obviously, then find a sister, and you just commit, like Garrett said, to something bigger than yourself. What's bigger than yourself? Hey, we're not meant to do this alone. We need to go together. So this is what this is going to look like. You set a regular schedule to meet, and you don't break it. Like Garrett said, we have this with Mighty Men, and so you can be like, oh, well, it's easy for you guys. Guess what? I have another group I meet with every single week, and it's at the same time, it's at the same place, and we get together and we share life together. And it's like, well, you have Mighty Men. Why do you do that? Because it's so important that you absolutely have to have it. And if you're like, well, what would we do? Get a book. Grab a John Bevere book where at the end of every chapter, they have questions. There's so many great Christian books. And you say, hey, I'm going to read this chapter. You read this chapter. We're going to come together and discuss it, and then share your life as well. I have a really simple format with men that I get together with. I say, hey, give me a highlight for the week. Tell me something you're grateful for, and tell me what God's doing in your life. It's not hard. You answer those 3 questions, and guess what? You just start like what guys will say is, oh, well, my highlight was this. And you start to get to know each other. You know what's going on in life. You start to hear what's challenging each other, and you sharpen each other. And you know what happens when you do that stuff regularly? It can be at a coffee shop or whatever. Other people want to start taking part. It's amazing how you draw people in.
And it very much is and we could do a longer episode on this, but I'll just say this last thing and then we'll move on. developing a brotherhood and a group of, for brotherhood is very much a mastery of basics. Uh,
Hmm.
Exercise, people will, they'll like, man, how'd you do this? How are there 400 guys here every week? Like this is insane. Like, what did you do to do this? I said, it was really simple. I just started with one guy, right?
Hmm.
It really is mastery of basics. The greatest advertisement for Christ is the transformation that comes from a relationship with him. And I can tell the story and show you in my life with both the fruit and the story of my life of how Christ has changed me and how a relationship with him has made me who I am. And as I've shared that with other men, they've wanted some of the same and they've experienced some of the same. And that is something that continually multiplies. And that's all Jesus called us to, right? Was to be disciples, be students of him and other people. That means we'll draw up other students like him to follow us, to be with us, and our students will develop more students. And that's exactly how you grow something. There's the Bible does not cover like, hey, here's how you do marketing for a men's group. And here's how you send thousands of invites and get people to show up. And I'm not saying that big conferences or big events are wrong, but what I am saying is that the Bible teaches discipleship, which is be a great student. Really let him
Hmm.
change who you are, and that'll attract. That's all the attraction that you need to develop a group. And so we went from 20 guys to 400 guys because those 20 guys let God change them, and that drew other men in.
Yeah. And keep in mind that was over years. I can't stress enough, if you're going to pick a time to meet, you need to make sure it's a time that you can commit to for how long? Forever. That's why we meet at 7 a.m. on Saturday. Not a lot of stuff happening at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. So be wise. I mean, it's just true. All right, number three, no surprise, G, physical discipline slash challenges. You have to remind yourself all the time. How often? Daily. That comfort will kill you. Well, how do I do something hard daily? Take a cold shower. For us, it's the ice bath. It could be the way, there's so many different things, but you absolutely cannot be in a place where you're not pushing yourself to do things that at some point you go, man, I don't want to do this. It's so
Here's here,
important.
here's the phrase that I hear come out of men's mouths way too often. That shows me where you're like. I When you say something like this, I know what the rest of your life looks like. And men will say to me, whether it's push-ups or running or whatever it is, they say something like, "Oh, well, I don't have to do that stuff anymore." Right? Those days are behind me. And the moment, like, I'm gonna die running a 4 mile run. That's the way that I'm gonna die. I'm gonna keep pushing myself and pushing my body to the very end. If you ever get to this place in your life where you think that physical discipline and challenging yourself is behind you, you are on your way to the grave. That's not just a biological thing, but who you are as a person is dying. This is James chapter 1. One of the things that God wants most for our life is to develop endurance. And so what you're saying is, right, the Bible talks about physical discipline. The Bible uses runners, athletes, and soldiers as the most common analogy in the New Testament. And what you're saying as a man is you've come to, maybe you're like still in shape, because I've met these guys. They're like, well, I just hit my little like weight routine and I know how to not be fat. But they're saying, I don't want to do hard stuff anymore. And if you get to that place in your life where you don't want to do hard stuff anymore, you are dying as a person.
Yeah, because what are you going to do whenever hard stuff comes to your door? Because guess what? It will. And you're practicing over and over and over again
It's pain
how to do it.
avoidance.
That's exactly right. And so when the pain comes, and it will come, you're unprepared. And how do you think you're going to react? Not well. And what you're going to end up doing as a man is you're going to pass that pain on to all the people around you that depend on you. So if you're married, your wife, your kids, the people around you are going to get it. When a man's life blows up, it takes it takes people down with him. And so you just that one to me is, you absolutely have to give yourself that reminder.
This
All right.
one's not so that one's not complicated, but just to give a little more context to it, for physical discipline, you need to be working out all the time, but also you need to be, on at least on an annual basis, doing something really hard that challenges you. Whether it's a mountain climb or a marathon or a triathlon or whatever it is, you need to be doing something that really challenges you.
I do a Murph every month, G, as part of that, because no matter how many times I do the Murph, you always hit that point where you're like, man, this sucks. And every time when I'm done, I'm like, I love that workout. It's like it's
Yeah.
never not delivered. So I love
So
that.
does Lindsay.
Yeah, well, there you go. And your wife is tougher than, many people out there. Anyways,
All right.
number four, G, hit us. What is it? This is a big one.
Serving. This is a huge thing, right? This isn't just like a great place to serve is at your church. You should be involved in your local church and give in some way, right? What serving is it's something that you do that doesn't pay you back. Because
Right.
what we talk about on this podcast all the time is the number one way to live a miserable life is make your life all about you. If you want to live a great life, make your life about other people. I can tell you some of the best growth and development in my life came like I had the privilege of getting to grow up from the time I was 10 in a church that talked about servant leadership all the time and taught me to serve. And I
Mhm.
learned so much about leadership. I learned so much about people. I learned project management and organization and managing timelines as a young boy on serving projects. And serving is a great place to develop yourself, whether you're 10 or you're 75. You're not just developing those skills, you're developing character.
Yeah. You're learning how to give to something bigger than yourself because there's a lot of people will bring a volunteer mindset in that they'll be like, well, I'll do the stuff that I like anyways. And as long as it's at a time that works for me. And you know what's actually really going to grow you is when you serve something that's completely inconvenient, not what your preference is, and puts you in a situation where you don't necessarily feel super skilled. And some people may be like, well, I don't know about that. Well, what's the question? It's what's required. And I'm speaking as a man who's helped lead our children's church I never thought that I'd be in there. But guess what? What was required of me is at some point I was in the 2-year-old room cleaning up literal puddles of pee. There's no skill set required for that. And I'm not saying this to like pat myself on the back. What I learned was I was like, hey, if this is how I'm here to serve advance the kingdom mission, and this is what's required today, then I'm going to do it. And I'll tell you, man, God meets you in that place because who are we following? Christ, who being in the very form God took on the form of a servant and became obedient even unto death. It's literally the example of Christ is like you humble yourself to the point of like, okay, here's what's required. And you can't learn that in theory. The serving is the way that you just get out there and and it'll teach you so much more. And what we know about our God is that when you're obedient, the blessings are abundant, and sometimes I'm not talking about like material blessings. I'm talking about the development of who you are and just the sense of relationship and fellowship with Christ. It's the most deeply
It's
satisfying thing. So you've got
it's
to
just
serve.
making serving is just making a commitment to allow
Yeah.
yourself to be used. Not saying
Yes.
this is how I want to be used.
Right.
It's the pick up brass mentality of saying, "Hey, look, I'm just going to give myself to this place and however they want to use me." Pastor Keith used to tell stories of people would come to the church and be like, "Hey, I think, I could really be used greatly in this way. You should use me to sing or to speak, or I
Hmm.
have a gift of leadership." And he'd say, "Well, okay, those guys over there need you to help stack chairs." And that's the heart of servant leadership. And that doesn't mean that you should give your skills and the best of yourself, but it starts with the right heart.
Exactly right. Well said, G. All right. What's number 5? Because I think this one's a little bit of a surprise.
And the last one, again, these are things that every man should be doing. If you're missing any one of these, you're missing it as a man. And the last one
Hmm.
is skill development. Whatever your skills are, each one of us has different talents, different measures of rule. I'm about to be 35 here at the end of August. And at this age in my life, I know what my skills are. I know what I'm really great at. I know what I'm naturally gifted at. I know what some learned skills that I have are. Like, I have a propensity for IT and I don't really like doing IT things, but it is a great skill that I have. And I end up keep having to use it. That's one type of skill. God's also given me a natural propensity for leadership. And this is a gift that I have studied since I was young. I wanted to be a leader. I read
Hmm.
books on it. I practice it. I think on it all the time. How can I be a better leader? And whatever your skills are, you need to be constantly growing them. This is how you add value as a man. This is how you are able to provide for your family.
Yeah.
Not what are the ideas that you have, but what are the ways that you can add value.
Yeah, that's so good. And because remember, guys, you're always growing either better or worse. And if you're constantly developing your skills, if you're sharpening, you're going to keep growing better. And guess what? Your value is going to go up. Your opportunities are going to go up. Your ways to serve are going to go up. I mean, they are all linked. And so that one is, I think, is an easy one to overlook. So once again, the 5 are: number 1, read the Bible and prayer; 2, intentional brotherhood; 3, physical discipline challenges; 4, serving; and 5, skill development. Just do these. It really is that simple.